wait a minute, all these businesses can function with half their employees working from home? We don't need these big old buildings and parking lots and dry cleaning and gas and, you know, pollution and all this other stuff. I mean, you see how clear the sky is in Los Angeles right now? Like,
I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need help. Oh, I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need help. Oh, that's right. I don't need nothing else. That's right.
King's Dream Entertainment.
Our Western, specifically American mentality is very much about autonomy, personal liberty, pursuit of happiness. And I think why we're seeing more success in a South Korea is because it seems like the Eastern view, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm saying it is what it is. There's a view of like the collective sum of, the collective is greater than the individual. Where here, the individual in his will is always greater than the collective, right?
Which Not to mention, combine that with the fact that they've gone through pandemic situations before on a much larger scale than we have.
Yeah, and so, and I think it's one cultural in their view of, you know, the society, the people, the greater good. Almost, you know, obviously China to a fault with communism, right? And then here it's very you-centered. You are one of a kind, unique, autonomous, personal liberties, pursuit of happiness, which is great. But now we're in a time where like, you gotta be willing to lay down your personal liberties and your personal freedoms to come and go as you please, to do what you want. You gotta be willing to lay that down and chill out, man. And if people, it seems like from what I'm hearing from the experts is, man, if people would just settle, there was an article came out on New York Times a couple weeks ago. They said that this thing could come to a halt if every American would freeze for the next 14 days and stay 6 feet away from each other. That this thing would come to a halt. If that, and then they came out and Dr. Who was that? Dr. Fauci came out and said 30 days until the end of April. So what seems like what's happening is like they're setting these things in place. Like you said, they're not enforceable. There's mix up between certain states don't want to do it. Like how long did Florida wait for crying out loud? You know what I mean? Yeah. And you saw all those.
Right, and then you had like, you know, you just have just huge administrative incompetence. Yes. You have the governor of Georgia coming in yesterday and saying, oh, we just learned that asymptomatic people can infect people. It's like, bro, we've been known that.
We've been known that. So I think you're totally right. You got bureaucratic incompetency. You have people who just don't want to listen and want to do what they do. And it's really difficult to enforce these things. And then the fear becomes people are freaking out because they're like, oh, this is going to be martial law. They're going to come in with tanks. Well, it's like, if you really want them to come in with tanks, this is how you do it. You don't freaking listen when people say, stay your butt at home for 14 days. This is how you spark martial law. Not that I think that's going to happen, but this is like, this becomes the way things get riled up really fast when people just don't listen to the basic protocols of state. And there's people in my life that aren't listening. Like, it's very frustrating, you know, and I feel guilty for going to the grocery store to buy my mom tea because she just broke her shoulder and I'm caring for her. I'm bringing her, I'm making her breakfast and dinner every night. I feel guilty for leaving the house to do that. I'm not going to the gym. I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the tough part is like, so like, just to kind of break that down, it's like, this is where American ideology is hurting America getting through something that potentially could be a 2 or 3 week terrible window. And they came out on CNN. They said the best interest of of public safety and the economy is one and the same. Sit down for 30 days and don't do anything. Just sit your butt down at home and don't work for 30 days.
But and that's part of like kind of where I get more pessimistic about the whole thing, because like one, we don't have an exit strategy, because I mean nobody like so one, that's assuming a lot of things. That's assuming, like I was thinking the other day, man, there's a lot of businesses that are essential. There we go. Essential businesses that I wouldn't have probably thought were essential businesses.
Like what?
So I mean, even like some of the gas stations and financial institutions. There's some factories. I mean, there are a lot of people that are theoretically, if everybody was behaving, if everybody was following the stay at home like they were supposed to be, I don't know that we're even capable of really actually slowing this if people are still going to grocery stores, if you have all these millions of essential workers that are still going about their daily lives. You know, we don't, like, this is all unprecedented territory.
Yeah.
This is assuming that the model works, and this might be the best model that we have, but I don't know that there is evidence that it'll work. And then what next? You know, nobody thinks that this is just going to be eradicated. So like, if we all stayed in for 2 months, we have to come out somehow. We cannot continue to perpetually just live like this for a year.
Yeah,
it can't happen.
I agree. So can we agree in theory, like in San Diego, they just issued a decree or whatever you want to call it, a mandate, saying that if you're out in public, you have to have a face mask on. Because initially they said face masks don't make a difference. And then they said, well, the N95 face masks make a difference, which I actually have a few. And I've been wearing my face mask in public. And then they said just last night, they came out and said, if you're in public in San Diego, you have to have on a face mask. Because now at this point, to your point, asymptomatic people can be getting other people sick. And so at this point, just freaking cover your mouth. And you should, so I feel like if they did that, if the whole entire country wore face masks in public or covered their face somehow when they were in public, those millions of essential workers, and if everybody else hunkered down, remained in place through April, we should see the curve start to flatten.
Start to flatten.
We should see that. Now, obviously this thing's not going to be completely done until there's a vaccine, but I think that becomes, okay, let's do that. And then easing back people into the marketplace by sector and saying, okay, well, let's remain with the social distancing. Keep your freaking masks on. Don't touch hands. Use hand sanitizer. Wash your hands all the time. You know what I mean? Like, if you're feeling the slightest sick, stay everybody at home. Here's the positive I see in this. This is the positive I see in this. And Joe Rogan, I think of them, said this, is like, I think on the other side of this, we're going to look and say, wait a minute. All these businesses can function with half their employees working from home. We don't need these big old buildings and parking lots and dry cleaning and gas and, you know, pollution and all this other stuff. I mean, you see how clear the sky is in Los Angeles right now? Like, it is crazy from an environmental standpoint how much cleanlier things are and how much more efficiently churches, Bible studies, homeschooling, all these things are functioning way at a more efficient level because people got to stay at home and hunker down. Like, you just got to chill. And I think on the other side of this, we might look and say, maybe we didn't need that big old building with all those cubicles and all those people in a wheel working. Like, for example, if my son was going to school right now, he would be going to school for 4 or 5 hours a day. And my wife is able to do the same equivalent of that. He can get all his schoolwork done in about an hour. I think there's going to be a lot of parents on the other side of this that are going to be like, wait, what?
Or a lot of parents that, you know, maybe just wouldn't have thought that they could ever homeschool their kids.
Yeah. Or a lot of,
wait a second. Not only can I do this, but this is kind of tight.
Yeah. Or a lot of companies that say, we can do our meetings through Zoom. Or we could work, have people work remotely from home and have an app to track their hours and make sure they clock in and we can see what that is. All kinds of apps and technology. So I think it creates a better engagement with technology. I think that's a very pro thing. I think, now to your point about the economic side, I think what we're going to see is, man, people are going to have to humble themselves and work jobs that they're overqualified for. That is inevitable. I'm in an industry, and
I think we're going to bring a lot of production back to the United States.
That was another thing. It's like masks, medicine. Why is this stuff not being made here? Those jobs, I think, could potentially come back. I'm saying, like, look, my finances are situated in a place where I'm debt free. I have a couple months of an emergency fund, and I make passive income. So I'm good probably for about 3 or 4 months, right? Solid. Like, if everything stops tomorrow, I'm good. All my revenue streams, Spotify stops sending checks, MusicBed stops sending checks. I'm good for at least 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months. But I'll go work for Instacart, fam. I got no problem doing Instacart. I got no problem, like, so I think a lot of these people, it's going to suck, and you were making $80K a year, and you were making really good money, and you were prestigious, and you had this and that, and you had an expense account, and now, fam, you're going to have to go work for Instacart and do whatever you can to put food on the table. And there's going to be a bunch of Instacarts, a bunch of secondary type economies that will blossom in this time, that will flourish in this time, that'll at least give people the opportunity to keep the lights on, to keep food on the table, to keep the hopefully keep the rent and the mortgage paid. I think we will see that for at least 2 or 3 months. If this goes on for a year, I would agree with you. I think if we're looking at years, I don't know, because you're going to default on all those mortgages. Rent payers are going to default on rent. But I think right now, if you want work, there is work out there. Like, that is a fact. If you want work, there's work out there. Optimism versus pessimism, right? Optimism isn't just being positive for the sake of being positive. In Simon Sinek's clip, that's what he said. He said, optimism is taking a real look, but hoping and believing things are going to get better. And my point to you was, I think the human condition is impacted by collective optimism or collective pessimism. The market is impacted by these things. If Trump says something good and the president says something good, the market goes up, right? And I know because I'm investing in the market right now. I'm buying up a bunch of stocks and stuff on Robinhood, not stocks, mutual funds and stuff like that. So the market goes up, and then something bad happens, the market goes down. And so I think people are the same way. If it's like doom and gloom and we got to brace for the Great Depression, then they're not going to be willing to go out and work. They're not going to be willing to be creative and innovate. They're not going to be willing to do. They're going to freeze like a deer in headlights. And I'm saying, I don't think that's what we want right now. I think we want people figuring it out. Wear a mask, wash your hands, avoid people. But if you got to go work for Instacart, fam, go work for Instacart.
In terms of like that, the broad social consensus of like optimism or pessimism as like a national ethos or something.
Yeah.
I think having a factual bedrock is probably supersedes optimism or pessimism.
But facts and all that stuff, like with the context of the media, that's where it becomes hard. Is what is, you know what I mean? Like, what is facts? Yeah. Fox News is reporting this way differently than CNN, and Trump is. I mean, like the way he's navigating on some of these facts is really tough.
Yeah, we can agree that factually we have a hard time as a culture gripping facts.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a problem, and that's something that doesn't lead to good consequences either one way or another.
She say I'm a triple, honey, welcome to Trivago. Tell me who you know, who is you tripping for a follow? Ball in the air like Showtime and the Apollo. Puffing up your chest, the next thing you know is hollow. But well, hello, I've been swinging like some jello. If God wanted a fun guy, he gets some portobello. So I guess I need some grease up on my elbow. Yeah, but now my life